What happens when two childhood friends defy tradition and confess their love during a grand Diwali celebration? In the midst of 1,000 fireworks and centuries of tradition, Arav realizes that loving Ishan is the one thing he can never hide, not from the world, and certainly not from his heart. The night air was warm, the sound of laughter and chatter from the Diwali celebrations filling the streets of Jaipur. But in that moment, all I could hear was the steady beat of my heart and the soft rustling of the marigold petals beneath my feet. I stood in front of the crowd, watching Ishan across the courtyard. He was wearing a simple kurta, his hair tousled just enough to make him look effortlessly charming, the kind of charm that had always left me breathless. I had loved him for years, but only recently had I dared to admit it to myself. For so long, I had pushed those feelings away, convinced that love between us was something I couldn't afford. Our families, our traditions, everything stood in the way of us being us. But the more time passed, the harder it became to deny what had always been between us. A connection that transcended time and space. The night was alive with the energy of Diwali. The city sparkled with lights, and the air was fragrant with the scent of sweets and incense. It felt like the universe had conspired to bring us together in this moment, under these stars, in the midst of all this chaos. I stepped forward, each step feeling like a leap of faith. My breath caught in my throat as I approached him. He turned toward me, his eyes widening in surprise. But there was a softness in his gaze, something I'd only seen when we were alone together. It was now or never. I took his hand, feeling the warmth of his skin, and with trembling fingers, I reached into my pocket. My heart pounded so loudly I thought everyone could hear it, but I didn't care. I had to do this. For him. For us. Ishan, I said, my voice quiet but steady. I've spent years wondering if this, us, could ever be real. I fought it, ignored it, and yet here I am, unable to stay silent anymore. His eyes widened, and a hint of surprise crossed his face. I could see his mind racing, wondering what I was about to say, but I knew this moment was bigger than any of the words I was about to speak. I dropped to one knee, pulling out the small velvet box that held a simple ring, a symbol of the love that had existed between us long before either of us understood it. Ishan, like the moon and the stars, we have always existed together, I continued, my voice thick with emotion. But it is now that I see my soul reflected in yours. Will you be my constant in this world, my partner in all lifetimes, forever? For a heartbeat, the world seemed to stop. The fireworks above us blazed brighter, casting a warm glow on his face. The crowd fell silent, as if they too understood the weight of this moment. And then, Ishan smiled, the kind of smile that made the entire world fade away. He nodded, his eyes shining with the same intensity that I felt in my chest. Yes, Arav, he whispered, his voice barely audible over the roar of my heart. Yes. The crowd erupted in applause, but all I could hear was his voice, the promise in his words. The rest of the night became a blur of laughter, tears, and music, but every moment was a reflection of that one, when I had made the most important promise of my life.